In the quiet corners of history, we often imagine the Middle Ages as a time of knights, castles, and endless wars. But behind the stone walls and bustling villages, there existed minds of extraordinary creativity, men and women who dared to experiment, who built contraptions ahead of their time, and who whispered ideas into manuscripts that were centuries too early for the world to fully understand. These were the inventors whose creations, though now often forgotten, laid the foundations of much that we take for granted today. Tonight, we will step into that world, not just to observe kings and battles, but to follow the trail of inventions lost in the mist of the medieval past, inventions that could have changed the world far sooner if only they had survived, or if the world had been ready for them. Picture a small workshop in the year 1240. The smell of melted wax and smoke from an oil lamp fills the room. A monk bends over parchment, sketching gears with charcoal, his imagination racing beyond the limits of his age. This monk is thinking of ways to harness water power, to create machines that could weave cloth faster than a dozen hands, or grind grain while men slept. These drawings may vanish into dust, but the dream that humanity could build machines to do its work is a medieval seed of industrial revolutions to come. One of the most intriguing inventions whispered about in medieval manuscripts was the mechanical clock. Today, clocks are ordinary, but imagine a time when the movement of the sun and the ringing of church bells were the only ways to tell time. By the 13th century, inventors in Europe had begun to build huge, weight-driven clocks in monasteries, machines that ticked with astonishing precision. But there were even more ambitious ideas, designs for portable mechanical clocks, small enough to carry. Centuries before, pocket watches became fashionable. Many of these designs were too fragile, too expensive, or too complex for the medieval world, and so they slipped into obscurity, resurfacing only much later when technology caught up. But clocks were only the beginning. There is the strange and wondrous story of the medieval flying machine. In the year 875, a scholar named Abbas ibn Firnas in Muslim Spain built wings from silk and wood and leapt from a tower. He is said to have glided through the air for moments before crashing to the ground. His body was injured, but his reputation soared. He was remembered as the man who dared to imitate the birds. Centuries later, sketches of similar contraptions appeared in Europe, long before Leonardo da Vinci's famous notebooks. Yet the dream of human flight was too far beyond medieval resources. Parachutes and gliders appeared in manuscripts, but remained only drawings, not realities. Imagine how the world might have changed if safe flying machines had been perfected in the 13th or 14th century. Empires would have expanded faster, wars would have been fought from the skies, and trade routes might have spanned the globe far earlier. The Middle Ages also gave rise to the forgotten world of watermills and windmills. While we often imagine peasants grinding grain by hand, the truth is that medieval Europe was dotted with ingenious mills, machines that harnessed nature-COS power for countless tasks. Some inventors designed horizontal water wheels. Others experimented with tidal mills that worked with the ocean's rhythm. There are records of mills that could hammer iron, saw wood, and even operate bellows for forges. Yet many of these advanced designs were lost or dismissed, their manuscripts destroyed in wars or left unread in monastery libraries. Had these machines spread widely, the Industrial Revolution might not have waited for the 18th century. It could have begun hundreds of years earlier. Then there is the astonishing story of Greek fire. This was no ordinary invention, but a weapon so powerful that it terrified entire navies. Created by Byzantine engineers, Greek fire was a liquid that could burn even on water, hurled through tubes mounted on ships. It turned the tide of wars, yet its formula was a closely guarded secret. And when the Byzantine Empire fell, the recipe vanished forever. Historians have searched endlessly, but the exact mixture is still unknown. Imagine if this invention had survived, improved, and spread. It could have changed not just medieval warfare, but the course of world empires. But inventions were not always made of fire and iron. Some were of the mind, concepts centuries ahead of their time. In 9th century Baghdad, scholars experimented with automated machines, even a programmable musical device that played melodies on its own. In Europe, designs for mechanical knights, early robots, were sketched, imagined to move their arms and open their mouths. These were the seeds of modern robotics, planted in an age when the world still feared magic. Most were dismissed as curiosities or even as heresy, and so they vanished. As we wandered deeper into this medieval world of forgotten brilliance, we encounter inventions that seem like myths, but which hold strange truths. Take the medieval spectacles. In the late 1200s, monks began experimenting with polished lenses to magnify words on parchment. Within a century, eyeglasses were in use, but there were also sketches of telescopes and microscopes, ideas that wouldn't reappear until Galileo's time. These drawings suggest that some medieval minds had glimpsed possibilities that would only be realized centuries later. And then, in dusty manuscripts, we find references to ancient automata, mechanical birds that could sing, fountains that moved in patterns, and clocks that displayed the stars on their faces. In some accounts, kings and emperors owned marvels powered by hidden water pipes and gears. But these wonders were fragile, often destroyed in sieges, their mechanisms lost. What makes these inventions so haunting is not just their brilliance, but their fragility. A single war, a single fire in a monastery could erase decades of work. Unlike today, where printing and digital storage preserve ideas, the Middle Ages balanced knowledge on the edge of a knife. Countless inventions perished, not because they didn't work, but because their guardians could not protect them. As night deepens and our story unfolds, remember this. The Middle Ages were not only an age of darkness, but also an age of forgotten light, light that flickered in the hands of inventors who dreamed of a future they would never see. The medieval world, often painted in shades of mud, blood, and candlelight, was not without brilliance. In fact, it was bursting with ingenious creations that flickered briefly before being swallowed by time. If we lean closer, we hear the whispers of inventions that promise to transform society. But for reasons of war, religion, or simple neglect, they disappeared into obscurity. Tonight, we continue our journey into those lost wonders. Let us step into the year 1326, into the bustling city of Florence. A craftsman there sketches on parchment the design for what seems to be a self-propelled vehicle. His drawing shows gears, springs, and wooden wheels, all powered without horses. At first glance, it looks like a child's toy, but on closer inspection, it is something remarkable. a medieval car. Modern engineers who reconstructed the design found it could indeed move forward on its own. Imagine the astonishment if such carts had rolled down the cobblestone streets of medieval Europe. But the invention was too fragile, too costly, and too far ahead of its time. The design was shelved, and the idea of a self-moving vehicle would not return until centuries later. From Florence, our path leads us eastward, across deserts, and into Baghdad, where the great scholars of the Islamic Golden Age preserved, translated, and expanded upon knowledge that Europe had nearly forgotten. Among their marvels was the work of the Banu Musa brothers in the 9th century, who wrote the Book of Ingenious Devices. Within its pages were descriptions of automatic fountains, mechanical flutes, and even self-trimming lamps. These were not fairy tales, but real machines built with pipes, gears, and clever hydraulics. Yet as empires rose and fell, much of their work was scattered, and many of these mechanical wonders vanished into obscurity. In the courts of Europe, alchemists and inventors whispered of yet another possibility, the perpetual motion machine. For medieval thinkers, the dream of infinite energy was irresistible. Manuscripts survive, showing wheels that were supposed to spin forever, driven by hidden weights or flowing water. Of course, none truly worked as intended, for the laws of physics remained firm even in the Middle Ages. But these attempts, though failures, sparked a new way of thinking, an obsession with mechanics, with energy, with the belief that nature's secrets could be unlocked. Though lost, these inventions planted seeds that centuries later gave rise to the science of thermodynamics. But not all medieval inventions were confined to workshops. Some appeared on battlefields, changing the fate of wars before vanishing. The trebuchet, for example, was not truly lost, but its more advanced cousin, the counterweight-powered war engine, capable of hurling enormous stones with devastating accuracy, was rarely perfected. There are manuscripts that describe machines even more fearsome, giant crossbows capable of shooting flaming bolts the size of tree trunks, or armored wagons, early prototypes of tanks, designed to move slowly across battlefields while shielding soldiers. These designs flickered in and out of history, their realities uncertain, their legends enduring. Then there is the tale of the medieval submarine. In the late 16th century, just after what many still consider the medieval age, a man named William Bourne described a submersible craft made of wood, covered in leather, sealed with grease, and propelled by oars. Yet there are whispers that even earlier experiments with underwater vessels were attempted by scholars in the Islamic world. If true, it would mean that the dream of diving beneath the waves, of vanishing under rivers or seas, belonged not to modern inventors, but to medieval visionaries. As we continue through this landscape of forgotten brilliance, we stumble upon the curious invention of the rocket. While China is rightly remembered as the birthplace of gunpowder, few recall that by the 13th century, medieval engineers were experimenting with rocket-propelled arrows and even fire lances. In one astonishing story from the Battle of Kaifeng, flaming rockets attached to bamboo poles terrified opposing armies. And yet, when this technology drifted westward, it was often misunderstood, suppressed, or forgotten. Europe would not see rockets again until much later. Had they been embraced, warfare, and perhaps even exploration, might have leapt forward by centuries. In quieter corners of monastic libraries, we find records of something far gentler, but no less revolutionary: the printing press, before Gutenberg. Yes, history credits Johannes Gutenberg in the 15th century with the invention of movable type, but evidence suggests that in Asia, movable type existed much earlier, and in Europe, scattered experiments with block printing occurred centuries before Gutenberg perfected his method. Some medieval inventors even tinkered with methods of casting reusable letters, but their work never gained traction. Had those early presses spread, the medieval world might have been flooded with books, literacy might have exploded, and the Renaissance could have dawned far earlier. Let us not forget the strange, almost mythic accounts of medieval medicine. In manuscripts hidden among herbal remedies and charms, there are recipes that sound eerily modern: surgical tools resembling scalpels and forceps, anesthetic potions made from opium and henbane, and even crude antiseptics. Some physicians experimented with catgut for stitching wounds, an invention later rediscovered in modern surgery. But much of this knowledge was condemned as dangerous sorcery, and so it vanished into the shadows. What is most haunting about these inventions is how fragile their survival was. Unlike today, where every design can be replicated endlessly in digital form, medieval ideas often lived in a single book, a single scroll, or even a single mind. The death of one scholar, the burning of one library, or the sacking of one city could erase entire worlds of invention. As we look back, we realize that the Middle Ages were not simply an age of stagnation, but of fragile brilliance, of dreams that flared briefly before vanishing into the dark. The lost medieval inventions were not failures of imagination, but victims of circumstance. And so, the story continues. Through fire, through war, through silence, as we uncover invention after invention that changed the world, but only centuries later, when they were rediscovered. The Middle Ages, though often remembered as an age of knights and kingdoms, were also a time of restless imagination. Ideas sparked like candles in the dark, only to be blown out by war, plague, or the suspicion of superstition. Yet these lost medieval inventions tell us something powerful. The human mind has always dreamed beyond its present. One such dream was the mechanical knight. In the 13th century, there are accounts of inventors who created life-sized figures that could move their arms, open their mouths, and even bow. Some historians believe these early automata were powered by gears, springs, and hidden weights, marvels meant to entertain kings and shock courtiers. Centuries later, Leonardo da Vinci would sketch his own robotic knight, but he was not the first. The concept had roots deep in the medieval past. If such machines had been perfected, imagine how they might have transformed not only entertainment, but warfare, industry, and science. Another forgotten wonder lies in the realm of communication. Long before the telegraph or telephone, medieval inventors considered ways of signaling across distances. Some experimented with mirrors to reflect sunlight, others with coded flag systems, and in Arab lands, there were even suggestions of using drums and smoke signals in complex patterns to send messages across miles. Had these systems been standardized, medieval empires might have coordinated their armies or trade with astonishing efficiency. Instead, they were treated as novelties, fading into obscurity. Consider, too, the medieval loom. For centuries, weaving was done by hand, slow and painstaking. Yet scattered manuscripts hint at semi-mechanical looms that used treadles and gears to automate patterns. In China, there were even more advanced designs, and in Europe, early experiments suggested the dream of mass-producing textiles centuries before the Industrial Revolution. These designs, however, were either too costly or resisted by guilds that feared loss of manual labor, and so they were abandoned, rediscovered only in the age of industrial machines. Then there is the strange tale of medieval optics. In the 11th century, scholars such as Ibn al-Haytham studied light and lenses with remarkable precision. Their work led to the invention of spectacles in Europe by the late 1200s, but there were also whispers of larger lenses that could magnify distant objects. Some manuscripts even describe burning glasses that focused sunlight to ignite objects. Had telescopes and microscopes been embraced centuries earlier, the scientific revolution might not have waited until Galileo or Hooke. The stars, the planets, and the hidden worlds of cells could have been unveiled in the 14th century instead of the 17th. As we walk through the corridors of forgotten genius, we find the medieval windmill, not the simple post mills we often imagine, but vertical mills and tower mills capable of grinding grain, pumping water, and even sawing wood. There are accounts of ingenious inventors who designed mills that rotated automatically with the wind, saving immense human labor. Yet many of these advanced designs were lost to local wars or remained isolated curiosities, never spreading widely. If they had, Europe's agricultural output might have doubled centuries earlier. There were also inventions tied to the sea. The magnetic compass, first used in China, slowly made its way into medieval Europe. But what many forget is that medieval inventors experimented with improvements. Liquid-filled compasses, floating compasses, and even crude navigational charts. Some designs were centuries ahead, predicting technologies that would not appear until the age of exploration. Yet, many of these were suppressed, guarded as state secrets, or dismissed as unreliable. Imagine if reliable compasses and charts had been widely available in the 1200s. Global exploration might have begun long before Columbus. We cannot forget the alchemy of fire. In addition to Greek fire, medieval inventors experimented with gunpowder mixtures that were not only for war but for entertainment. There are accounts of fireworks in 13th century Europe, possibly inspired by Chinese formulas. But some alchemists imagined far more practical uses, rockets for signaling, or controlled explosions for mining. Yet fear and superstition surrounded such work. The church often condemned alchemical studies, fearing they bordered on sorcery. As a result, many manuscripts were hidden, destroyed, or left incomplete. Among the most haunting of lost inventions are the devices of water and air. Ancient inventors, whose manuscripts survived into the medieval period, described fountains that could spray in patterns, organs powered by water pressure, and even devices that could cool rooms with evaporative systems. These ideas survived in fragments, but few were ever built, for they were considered luxuries of the rich. Had they spread, medieval cities might have enjoyed air cooling systems, fountains, and automata centuries before the Renaissance. And then there is the legend of the medieval rocket cart. In China, there are drawings of carts propelled by gunpowder rockets, wild contraptions that blasted forward in bursts of fire. Whether these were truly built or merely imagined is unclear, but the idea itself reveals how medieval minds reached far beyond their tools. They imagined vehicles that could move without beasts of burden, powered instead by fire and air. It was a vision of future transport hidden in a world still lit by torches. All these inventions remind us of something vital. Progress is not a straight line. It is a fragile path, winding through the forests of time, often broken by wars, plagues, and the silence of forgotten libraries. The medieval age was not simply a time of backwardness, it was an age of dreaming, where imagination often outran reality. And when those dreams were too bold, too fragile, they slipped through the cracks of history. As our story continues, we must remember the people behind these inventions. Many were anonymous monks, scholars, or craftsmen, their names lost, but their visions echoing through time. They lived in candlelit rooms, scribbling on parchment, forging metal, or experimenting with glass, never knowing that their inventions might one day change the world, if only they survived. And so, the lost medieval inventions were not merely forgotten machines. They were voices of possibility, whispers from a time when humanity looked forward long before it was ready. Imagine walking through the narrow streets of a medieval city. The air is thick with smoke from hearth fires. The clang of a blacksmith's hammer echoes in the distance, and merchants shout the prices of wool and bread. It looks like a world defined by simplicity, but behind closed doors, in monasteries, workshops, and courts, there existed minds pushing the boundaries of what was possible. They were inventors, visionaries, and dreamers, and their creations, though lost to time, were centuries ahead of their age. One such marvel was the medieval water clock, perfected far beyond its ancient origins. While water clocks had existed in Greece and Egypt, medieval engineers in both the Islamic world and Europe transformed them into intricate machines. Some were designed with figurines that rang bells or opened doors to mark the hours. Others displayed constellations and phases of the moon. In Damascus, there was even a legendary clock that stood by a mosque, so complex that visitors described it as a living marvel. Yet as wars swept across cities and knowledge fractured, many of these advanced designs were destroyed or forgotten, leaving behind only tantalizing descriptions. Then there was the dream of mechanical navigation. In the 12th century, there are records of devices resembling astrolabes and geared orreries, small mechanical models of the solar system. These inventions could track stars, predict eclipses, and even assist in sea navigation. Some scholars believe early prototypes of navigational calculators existed, precursors to the instruments that would later guide explorers across oceans. But without wide acceptance, they were left unused, rediscovered only much later when exploration demanded them. From the skies, our attention turns back to the earth, specifically to farming. Medieval Europe was built on the sweat of peasants, yet even here, lost inventions promised a different future. There were designs for improved plows with adjustable iron blades, far superior to wooden tools. Some villages experimented with horse harnesses that allowed animals to pull greater loads without injury. In China and the Middle East, water lifting devices like the chain pump and the noria were perfected. But across Europe, many such tools spread slowly, resisted by tradition, or simply lost during wars. Had these innovations been widely embraced, agriculture might have leapt centuries ahead, feeding larger populations and reshaping history. One of the strangest inventions whispered in the annals of the Middle Ages was the alchemical lamp. Some manuscripts claim that alchemists created lamps that could burn without fuel, glowing for months or even years. While many dismiss these as legends, others suggest they might have been based on clever mixtures of oils or chemical reactions. If true, they hint at an understanding of chemistry that far surpassed the time. Imagine a medieval cathedral lit not by flickering candles, but by eternal lamps. Whether truth or myth, these stories speak of how medieval minds reached toward the impossible. And what of transport? Beyond carts and horses, there are curious accounts of inventors who designed paddle wheel boats, powered by men turning cranks or treadmills. Some even dreamed of steam-driven boats, centuries before the age of steam. In China, the Song dynasty experimented with paddle wheel warships in the 12th century. Yet in Europe, such designs appeared only briefly, then vanished. Imagine medieval rivers, bustling not with slow barges, but with paddle-driven ships racing against the current. Trade, war, and exploration might have taken entirely different paths. Another forgotten marvel lies in architecture. We admire the soaring cathedrals of Gothic Europe, but hidden within their stones are mysteries of engineering. Some medieval architects experimented with suspended bridges, rotating cranes, and even prefabricated building techniques. There are hints of spiral staircases that wound around hollow columns, and drawings of bridges made of iron chains centuries before suspension bridges became real. Many such designs never left parchment, either dismissed as fantasies or lost when their creators died. Now, pause for a moment. As we wander through these inventions, imagine what the world might have been if even half of them had survived. A medieval age filled with paddle wheel ships, telescopes, mechanical knights, and advanced agriculture. The Renaissance might not have waited until the 15th century. It might have come in the 12th. The Industrial Revolution might not have dawned in the 1700s. It could have begun in the Middle Ages. History, in many ways, is not only about what was, but also about what could have been. And before we continue deeper into this forgotten world, I'll say this. If you are enjoying this journey into the mysteries of lost medieval inventions, don't forget to like this story and subscribe for more. That way, you can keep exploring the shadows of history where forgotten genius waits to be rediscovered. Now, let us return to the flickering lights of invention. Among the most haunting of all is the concept of perpetual lamps and self-moving machines. Some claimed to have built spheres that rolled forever, fountains that never ceased, or lamps that glowed eternally. While modern science shows such perfection is impossible, what matters is the ambition. Medieval inventors dreamed not of survival alone, but of mastery over nature. These dreams were fragile, but they laid the groundwork for the scientific revolutions to come. Equally fascinating is the story of medieval glassmaking. In Venice, the island of Murano became a center of glass innovation. There are records of inventors experimenting with colored glass, optical glass, and even crude versions of what might have become microscopes. Some suggest that Venetian craftsmen may have stumbled upon secrets of tempered or shatter-resistant glass long before modern chemistry. Yet their secrets were closely guarded, and many were lost in fires and secrecy when master glassmakers took them to their graves. Finally, let us turn to medicine once more. Beyond surgery and herbal remedies, there are whispers of early prosthetics. In the 15th century, armorers who crafted iron for knights also began forging mechanical hands and legs for wounded warriors. Some were so advanced they had movable joints, allowing users to grasp swords or hold reins. These devices, centuries before modern prosthetics, were testaments to the ingenuity born from necessity. Yet many were lost, destroyed in wars, or left to rust in forgotten castles. As our exploration of lost medieval inventions deepens, we are reminded that the Middle Ages were not only a bridge between antiquity and modernity, they were also a treasury of unrealized futures, futures glimpsed by inventors who dared to imagine the impossible, even if the world was not yet ready to accept it. The Middle Ages may seem to the casual observer like a time of rigid hierarchy, superstition, and simple lives. But beneath that surface, the medieval mind was endlessly inventive, driven by curiosity, necessity, and sometimes sheer audacity. In this next chapter of Lost Inventions, we step even deeper into that world, uncovering marvels that might have changed the course of history if only they had survived. Consider the medieval siege engine, not the basic trebuchet or catapult, but the highly experimental designs that attempted to combine speed, accuracy, and automation. Some engineers drafted blueprints for massive crossbow-like machines that could fire bolts automatically, using gears and weights to reload themselves. There are even accounts of machines designed to hurl flaming projectiles without the need for human operators nearby. A terrifying blend of mechanics and pyrotechnics. Many of these designs never left the drawing board or were dismantled and forgotten after a failed trial. Yet in the hands of a determined army, they might have transformed the art of warfare long before the age of gunpowder. Turning from war to the home, we find the medieval mechanical bellows. Blacksmiths and metallurgists depended on heat for smelting and forging, and bellows were essential. But inventive minds experimented with bellows powered by water wheels, treadles, and even wind. Imagine a forge that never needed manual pumping, where iron could be worked more efficiently, with fewer workers exhausted by labor. Such machines were described in manuscripts and occasionally built in small workshops, but few survived. The combination of war, fire, and neglect erased most of these innovations from memory. Next, we explore the art of medieval automata, not just in courts, but in monasteries and religious sites. Mechanical figures, angels, saints, or kings, were constructed to move, sing, or gesture during ceremonies. Some were powered by water, some by hidden gears, and some by weights that had to be carefully calibrated. These machines were both entertainment and devotion, combining art, mechanics, and faith. Yet, as time passed, most of these automata decayed or were destroyed, leaving only tantalizing mentions in chronicles. Today, when we imagine robots, we might smile at the complexity of a modern machine. But centuries earlier, medieval minds were already attempting the impossible. And then there was the medieval printing experiment. Long before Gutenberg's press revolutionized Europe, some inventors attempted to carve wooden blocks with interchangeable letters or stamps, hoping to produce books faster. Others experimented with ink, adhesives, and drying methods, searching for a technique that could withstand repeated printing. Though many of these early attempts failed, they represent an understanding of replication and communication that was centuries ahead of its time. Had one of these projects succeeded, the spread of literacy, education, and knowledge could have accelerated dramatically. Maritime inventions were also an essential part of the lost medieval repertoire. Beyond the compass, inventors experimented with self-steering ships using early mechanical rudders and water-based mechanisms. Some sketches show ships with floating guides to help maintain a course in rivers or along coasts. Others describe sail-powered carts that could move on both land and water long before amphibious vehicles became practical. Such ideas hint at a medieval mind constantly striving to master movement, distance, and navigation. The field of medieval optics continues to reveal astonishing ingenuity. Beyond spectacles, inventors experimented with magnifying lenses to study distant objects, to observe stars, or even to burn materials using focused sunlight. Some monastic manuscripts describe observatories where crude telescopes or lenses were used to watch the night sky, predict eclipses, or chart planets. These experiments suggest a medieval scientific method: observation, hypothesis, and mechanical application long before the scientific revolution fully took hold. Medicine, too, held inventions that vanished with time: early prosthetics and surgical tools, as we have seen, existed in medieval Europe. But beyond this, there were mechanical devices designed to assist in rehabilitation, crutches with adjustable mechanisms, braces for broken limbs, and even rudimentary pumps to move blood or assist breathing. These devices were crafted from wood, leather, and metal, and while fragile, they demonstrate an understanding of human physiology far ahead of their era. Sadly, like many inventions, they were lost to war, decay, and the limits of record keeping. One of the more intriguing lost ideas lies in medieval robotics for agriculture. Some manuscripts describe machines powered by water or wind that could turn grain, thresh crops, or even harvest small areas. While these machines were crude compared to modern equipment, the concept itself, using natural forces to reduce human labor, was visionary. These experiments foreshadowed automation centuries before the industrial age, and in some regions, traces of them influenced later innovations. Let us not forget the medieval musical machines, automata that played instruments, mechanical organs powered by water, and early versions of player pianos existed in Europe and the Islamic world. Monks and craftsmen designed music machines for cathedrals, courts, and even private study. Some played sequences of melodies using pinned cylinders or rotating drums long before industrial music boxes became common. These machines reflected both artistry and engineering, bridging culture and mechanics in ways that would not be repeated for centuries. And so, as we reach the end of this segment, we are reminded once more that medieval inventors were explorers of possibility. They were visionaries whose dreams often outpaced the materials, tools, or societal acceptance of their age. Their creations were fragile, their experiments limited by circumstance, yet their imagination resonates through the centuries. The lost medieval inventions were not just curiosities, they were the seeds of modern science, engineering, medicine, and artistry. They remind us that every age has dreamers, and every dream holds the potential to change the world. As we continue to wander through the shadows of medieval ingenuity, it becomes clear that the Middle Ages were a world of paradox. On the surface, life was often harsh, marked by famine, plague, and the rigid structures of feudalism. Yet beneath that surface, There were sparks of brilliance, ideas, machines, and experiments that were centuries ahead of their time. Tonight, we explore some of these lost inventions, marvels that might have reshaped society if they had survived. One of the most fascinating is the medieval wind-driven mechanical devices. While windmills for grinding grain were relatively common, some inventors envisioned entire systems of machinery powered by wind. Manuscripts from the 14th century describe mills that could pump water, operate hammers, or even drive small automated looms. In some isolated cases, wind-powered cranes and lifts were proposed to move heavy stones for construction, reducing the need for human labor. Though rarely implemented, these ideas hint at an understanding of renewable energy long before it became a modern concern. Another forgotten marvel lies in automated astronomical devices. Inspired by earlier Greek and Islamic scholars, medieval inventors experimented with geared orreries, mechanical models of the solar system. These devices could track the motion of planets, phases of the moon, and even predict eclipses. Some were designed for teaching, others for navigation. Though only a handful were ever constructed, they demonstrate that medieval thinkers were not merely superstitious, they were keen observers of the cosmos, seeking to understand the universe through mechanics and mathematics. The medieval siege innovation continues to astonish. Beyond traditional catapults and trebuchets, engineers designed mobile fortified towers with wheels and defensive mechanisms. Some sketches show rotating platforms for archers, hidden compartments for storing weapons, and protective coverings against fire. Such inventions, if perfected, could have transformed siege warfare, yet the cost and complexity meant few were ever built, and most were lost to time. Meanwhile, in quieter workshops, inventors were pursuing the dream of automated clocks with astronomical functions. Beyond marking hours, some clocks incorporated dials for the moon, stars, and tides. These machines were often enormous, taking up entire rooms, and powered by weights, gears, and water flow. They were as much about beauty and spectacle as about utility. The knowledge of their construction was jealously guarded, and with the loss of manuscripts and skilled labor, many designs were forgotten for centuries. Turning to medicine, the Middle Ages also produced innovations in surgical instruments. While crude by modern standards, some tools reveal an understanding of human anatomy that was surprisingly advanced. Forceps, bone saws, and surgical clamps existed alongside devices designed to drain fluids or remove cataracts. Some inventors even experimented with mechanical braces and prosthetics, creating early assistive devices for injured soldiers and laborers. The fragility of these instruments, combined with societal suspicion toward medical experimentation, meant that many of these designs disappeared before they could be widely adopted. In the realm of maritime technology, medieval engineers explored rudimentary submarines and diving devices. Stories from the late medieval period describe wooden submersibles sealed with pitch and leather, propelled by hand-cranked paddles. Some divers experimented with leather suits and helmets connected to air tubes, hinting at the earliest attempts to explore underwater. Though many of these devices were experimental failures, they reveal a profound curiosity about the world beyond the surface of land and sea. Then there were the medieval mechanical musical instruments. Monks and craftsmen experimented with automated organs, small mechanical birds that chirped in rhythm, and drums that played themselves using pinned cylinders. These automata were marvels of engineering, combining art, science, and entertainment. Some were installed in cathedrals, others in noble courts, yet few survived the centuries, leaving only manuscripts and fragmented accounts. They remind us that medieval inventors were not solely concerned with war or labor. They sought beauty and joy through mechanical ingenuity. One of the most intriguing inventions is the medieval optical device, a precursor to telescopes and microscopes. Scholars experimented with convex and concave lenses, magnifying text, observing distant objects, or studying small specimens. In some accounts, monks in monasteries constructed crude observatories, recording the motion of planets and eclipses with remarkable precision. Had these devices become widespread, the Renaissance and scientific revolution might have been accelerated by decades, as curiosity would have been nurtured by observation long before Galileo. We also encounter lost water lifting machines designed to irrigate fields or supply towns with water. Some were based on chain pumps, others on noria wheels, and a few manuscripts describe wind-powered pumps. These inventions, while technically feasible, were rarely constructed on a large scale. The consequence, many regions suffered from inefficient water management, and the full potential of agricultural productivity remained unrealized for centuries. Finally, consider the lost medieval automata for education. Monks, inventors, and scholars designed mechanical models to teach geometry, astronomy, and even philosophy. These devices moved according to the principles they represented: gears illustrating planetary motion, levers demonstrating mechanical advantage, and pendulums showing oscillation. Though few of these machines were ever constructed, they reveal an awareness that knowledge could be both seen and experienced, not just read from a text. As we step back from these inventions, it becomes clear that the Middle Ages were not simply an age of darkness. They were a time of fragile brilliance, where imagination often outpaced available technology. Many of these inventions were lost, forgotten, or suppressed, yet their ideas flickered forward, influencing later generations when materials, science, and society were finally ready to realize them. The Middle Ages often bring to mind images of stone castles, armored knights, and bustling marketplaces. Yet, hidden in the shadows of these familiar scenes was a world of invention, creativity, and daring experimentation. Many medieval minds were not content to simply survive. They sought to understand, to manipulate, and to improve the world around them. Today, we continue our exploration of lost medieval inventions that could have changed history if circumstances had allowed them to flourish. One of the most astonishing concepts from medieval workshops was the self-winding clock. Early mechanical clocks were powered by falling weights or flowing water, but some inventors imagined systems that could reset themselves automatically. The idea was to create a perpetual motion of sorts, a clock that needed minimal human intervention. Though true perpetual motion is impossible, these designs showed remarkable ingenuity, combining gears, levers, and counterweights in ways that would not reappear for centuries. The medieval period also witnessed early experimentation with automated writing devices. Some inventors sketched machines that could trace letters or reproduce patterns on parchment, akin to a primitive typewriter or plotter. These designs were fragile and complex, often requiring constant adjustments, but they revealed a desire to reduce repetitive labor and spread knowledge efficiently. Imagine a scriptorium filled with such devices, producing texts faster than a dozen monks could by hand. Literacy and education might have grown centuries earlier. We also encounter the medieval siege innovation in more sophisticated forms. Beyond trebuchets and catapults, engineers experimented with rotating towers and armored vehicles designed to advance under enemy fire. Some sketches depict wheels powered by manpower or water, allowing siege engines to approach walls while shields protected soldiers within. Though few of these machines were realized, they hint at an early understanding of mechanized warfare, a glimpse of a future where battles were fought as much by engineering as by manpower. In domestic life, inventors pursued the dream of mechanical ovens and automated kitchens. Some manuscripts describe systems of gears and pulleys that could rotate spits over fire, regulate temperature, or stir large cauldrons without human effort. While practical implementation was rare, these ideas reflect a sophisticated understanding of heat, timing, and labor efficiency. For the elite, such inventions promised both luxury and precision in everyday life. Maritime innovation continued to push boundaries. In addition to rudders and compasses, inventors experimented with early water-powered ship propulsion and navigation devices. Some sketches show ships with geared paddles, while others depict mechanisms to automatically adjust sail angles according to wind direction. These experiments were often abandoned due to complexity or resource constraints, but they reveal a medieval desire to master the oceans long before the age of exploration fully unfolded. Another forgotten marvel was the development of medieval prosthetics and medical aids. Beyond simple wooden limbs, some inventors created articulated prosthetic hands, mechanical braces, and even devices to assist the movement of paralyzed limbs. Though rudimentary, these inventions reflected a sophisticated understanding of human anatomy, mechanics, and empathy. Many such designs vanished as wars, fires, and societal neglect destroyed records, yet they remain a testament to the medieval commitment to problem solving and innovation. In the realm of optics, medieval scholars experimented with lenses to magnify text, observe the night sky, or even focus sunlight to ignite materials. Some monastic records describe experiments resembling rudimentary telescopes used to study stars or distant objects. Others hint at magnifying glasses for medical and scholarly purposes. These devices were more than curiosities. They were practical tools that, if perfected and shared, could have accelerated scientific discovery by centuries. We also find evidence of mechanical, musical instruments designed for both worship and entertainment. From automated organs in cathedrals to music boxes in noble courts, medieval inventors combined gears, pinned cylinders, and water power to produce melodies. These machines required careful design, patience, and precision, and their disappearance reminds us that art and technology have always been intertwined. Imagine cathedrals echoing not just with voices and bells, but with mechanically orchestrated compositions that predated the modern age. The medieval imagination extended even further into mechanical education tools. Some inventors built devices to illustrate principles of mathematics, geometry, and astronomy. Gears demonstrated ratios, pendulums illustrated motion, and mechanical spheres represented planetary orbits. Though few of these machines survived, they show that medieval minds sought active engagement with knowledge, using machines not just for labor or war, but for learning itself. Finally, consider the lost inventions in energy and power generation. Beyond windmills and water wheels, some manuscripts describe experimental designs for harnessing tidal energy or redirecting river flows to drive machines. These innovations were never fully realized, limited by technology, resources, and societal priorities. Yet they foreshadow modern concerns with renewable energy, revealing that even centuries ago, humans were thinking about sustainable solutions. The lost medieval inventions are not merely curiosities, they are reminders that progress is rarely linear. Ideas can appear, vanish, and reappear across centuries, often delayed by circumstance rather than impossibility. Every manuscript burned, every library destroyed, every workshop abandoned represents not just lost objects, but lost potential. As we move forward in this story, we must remember the inventors themselves, anonymous scholars, monks, engineers, and craftsmen, whose brilliance flickered briefly before being obscured by time. They were the architects of possibilities, the dreamers of futures that might have been, and the custodians of knowledge that waited centuries to re-emerge. The medieval world was a strange and wondrous place, a time when the line between reality and imagination often blurred. Beneath the surface of feudal life, of castles and markets, there existed a hidden culture of invention. Men and women experimented with machines, mechanisms, and devices that would not be seen again for centuries. Tonight, we explore more of these lost medieval inventions, marvels that hint at a future only dimly imagined in the candlelight of history. One of the most fascinating lost inventions was the automated water lifting machine. While water wheels were common, some medieval engineers experimented with mechanisms to raise water for irrigation or city supply automatically. Chain pumps, Noria wheels, and even wind-assisted lifts were proposed. In some accounts, these machines could operate day and night, moving water across distances without human labor. Although the idea was brilliant, its practical implementation was limited by materials and construction techniques, and most designs disappeared, leaving only manuscripts and sketches. In the realm of warfare, medieval inventors pursued innovations far beyond conventional arms. Consider the rotating siege engine, a mobile tower with multiple levels, designed to move under enemy fire. Inside, soldiers could fire arrows or hurl projectiles while being shielded by reinforced walls. Some designs incorporated gears and counterweights, allowing parts of the tower to rotate automatically. These devices were rarely built, as their complexity and cost were prohibitive, but they reveal the same inventive spirit that centuries later produced tanks and mechanized artillery. Domestic life, too, saw inventive attempts at automation. Mechanical ovens and rotating spits were designed to cook food evenly without constant human intervention. Some inventors combined gears, pulleys, and water-powered mechanisms to rotate large roasting spits, while others experimented with bell systems to alert cooks when food was done. Although these devices were luxurious and fragile, they demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of labor, time, and efficiency. In maritime exploration, Medieval engineers envisioned automated steering mechanisms for ships. Early sketches show gears and levers intended to adjust rudders or sails according to wind and current, reducing the constant labor required of sailors. Some designs even imagined ships that could maintain a steady course automatically. Had these devices been widely implemented, navigation and trade might have advanced centuries earlier, altering the trajectory of exploration and commerce. The field of medicine was no less inventive. Beyond prosthetics and surgical tools, some inventors experimented with mechanical braces and rehabilitation devices. These early machines aimed to support weakened limbs, assist mobility, and even mimic natural movements. While rudimentary, they reflect a medieval understanding of human anatomy and mechanical principles that was surprisingly advanced. Many such inventions were lost to time, their potential unrealized until modern engineering rediscovered the principles behind them. One of the most remarkable areas of medieval invention was optics. Beyond simple spectacles, medieval scholars experimented with lenses to magnify distant objects or to focus sunlight. Some designs hint at early telescopes and microscopes used to observe stars or study small details in manuscripts and nature. Though these devices were not widespread, they show an eagerness to explore the world through observation, a foundation for the scientific method that would emerge centuries later. In addition to practical inventions, medieval artisans created mechanical musical instruments, automated organs, bird-shaped automata that sang, and early forms of music boxes were designed to entertain and inspire. These machines combined craftsmanship, mechanical knowledge, and artistic sensibility, producing performances without human performers. While many of these devices decayed over time, they demonstrate the medieval commitment to innovation not just for survival, but for culture and expression. Education, too, benefited from mechanical ingenuity. Some inventors constructed educational automata, devices that demonstrated principles of geometry, astronomy, and mechanics. Gears illustrated ratios, pendulums demonstrated motion, and rotating spheres depicted planetary orbits. These machines allowed students to interact with abstract concepts physically, a pedagogical method centuries ahead of its time. Unfortunately, few of these inventions survived, leaving only sketches and descriptions in manuscripts. Energy and power were also areas of experimentation. Tidal mills, wind-assisted pumps, and river-driven machinery were conceptualized to harness natural forces for practical use. These machines foreshadowed renewable energy solutions long before the modern age. While implementation was often limited by materials and scale, the ideas reveal a medieval understanding of efficiency, sustainability, and mechanics. Finally, consider lost inventions in the realm of automation and robotics. From mechanical knights to self-moving carts, inventors imagined machines capable of performing complex tasks. Some sketches show humanoid figures that could move their arms, carry objects, or even serve drinks. Others depict carts powered by gears and weights. While few were ever built, these designs anticipate modern robotics, illustrating that medieval creativity was not constrained by contemporary limitations. It was limited only by resources and opportunity. The lost medieval inventions teach us an important lesson. History is not linear. Knowledge appears, vanishes, and reappears, often delayed by circumstance rather than impossibility. Every fire in a library, Every sacking of a city and every forgotten manuscript represents not just lost objects, but lost potential, ideas that could have accelerated civilization by centuries. As we continue this journey through medieval ingenuity, remember that the people behind these inventions were not merely curious, they were bold dreamers. Monks, scholars, craftsmen, and engineers risked ridicule, failure, and sometimes even death to pursue knowledge. They were custodians of ideas that the world was not yet ready to embrace. Their legacy survives in the faint echoes of manuscripts, sketches, and accounts, whispers of a world where imagination was limitless, even in an age of darkness. The medieval world was a paradox, a period often labeled dark and stagnant, yet teeming with ingenuity, curiosity, and daring experimentation. Beyond the walls of castles, monasteries, and crowded cities, inventors and scholars were quietly reshaping the world with ideas that, in many cases, would be lost for centuries. In this chapter, we delve into more of these remarkable, lost medieval inventions that could have transformed history. One of the most striking concepts was the self-operating mill. Unlike the typical water wheel-driven mills that required constant supervision, some inventors designed mechanisms that could regulate water flow, adjust grinding speed, and even shift gears automatically to optimize grain processing. These innovations reduced human labor and increased efficiency. While most designs were never widely adopted or were lost over time, they illustrate the medieval pursuit of automation and efficiency. In warfare, the pursuit of innovation was relentless. Beyond conventional siege engines, engineers dreamed of mechanical artillery capable of firing projectiles automatically or with greater precision. Some designs incorporated gears and counterweights, while others experimented with early forms of gunpowder propulsion. Long before firearms became common in Europe, the failure to build and preserve these devices was not due to lack of imagination, but limitations in materials, metallurgy, and engineering knowledge. Yet they hint at a world where medieval battles could have been far more mechanized than history records. In daily life, medieval inventors sought ways to ease the labor of cooking and food preparation. Mechanical kitchen devices, such as rotating spits, automated ovens, and pulley-operated cooking systems, were designed to reduce human effort. Some employed water or wind power to rotate roasting spits, while others used gears to control heat distribution. Though fragile and expensive, these devices reveal an understanding of mechanics and timing that few historians fully appreciate. Maritime inventions were no less ambitious. Engineers experimented with automated rudder systems, wind-adjusting sails, and early concepts for paddle-driven vessels. Some sketches describe ships that could maintain a steady course with minimal human effort, while others depict mechanisms to lift anchors or deploy sails mechanically. These ideas, if realized, could have revolutionized trade and naval exploration centuries before the Age of Discovery. Medicine, too, was a field of overlooked ingenuity. Beyond prosthetics and surgical instruments, inventors experimented with mechanical rehabilitation aids, including braces, supports, and devices to assist mobility. These tools were designed to restore functionality for injured soldiers, laborers, or the disabled. While rudimentary, they reflected an advanced understanding of anatomy and mechanics, and their disappearance from history represents a profound loss for early medical science. Optics was another area where medieval inventors displayed remarkable foresight. Beyond spectacles, scholars experimented with lenses for magnification, telescopic observation, and fire focusing. Some monastic manuscripts suggest early forms of telescopes or microscopes used to study the heavens or microscopic objects. These experiments demonstrate an early application of the scientific method, careful observation, experimentation, and recording results. Had these inventions become widespread, the scientific revolution could have been accelerated by decades. The arts and entertainment were also a playground for innovation. Mechanical, musical instruments, including organs, automated bells, and small automata that mimicked birdsong, were common in noble courts and cathedrals. These devices combined mechanical engineering, craftsmanship, and artistic creativity, producing performances without human performers. Unfortunately, most of these machines decayed over time or were dismantled, leaving only manuscripts and sketches behind. Education, too, benefited from mechanical creativity. Inventors built automated teaching tools to demonstrate concepts in geometry, astronomy, and mechanics. Rotating spheres illustrated planetary orbits, gears demonstrated ratios, and pendulums illustrated motion. These machines allowed scholars and students to engage with abstract concepts through tangible models, centuries ahead of conventional teaching methods. Energy and power generation were areas of untapped potential. Beyond water wheels and windmills, some inventors conceptualized tidal mills, wind-assisted pumping systems, and river-driven machinery. These innovations anticipated modern renewable energy solutions and demonstrate an understanding of efficiency and sustainability far ahead of their time. Limited resources, construction difficulties, and social priorities prevented these ideas from spreading, but the manuscripts survive as evidence of forward-thinking minds. Finally, medieval engineers dreamed of robots and self-moving devices. From humanoid automata to self-propelled carts, inventors imagined machines capable of performing complex tasks. Some sketches show mechanical figures that could move arms, carry objects, or serve food. Others depict carts powered by gears and weights, anticipating modern robotics centuries before industrial machines existed. Though few of these devices were ever realized, the designs reveal a bold willingness to experiment with the limits of mechanics. As we step back and survey these lost inventions, one theme becomes clear. The Middle Ages were not a stagnant period, but a fertile ground for creativity. Many of the ideas were fragile, dependent on scarce materials or the survival of manuscripts. Wars, fires, and societal shifts caused countless innovations to vanish. Yet the ingenuity of these medieval minds laid foundations for the modern world, waiting centuries for rediscovery. These lost inventions were more than machines. They were glimpses of what might have been. They remind us that human imagination is timeless and that progress is often delayed not by impossibility, but by circumstance. Every forgotten manuscript, abandoned workshop, or ruined city represents a story untold, a possibility unrealized, and a spark of genius waiting to be remembered. As we reach the halfway mark of our journey through lost medieval inventions, it becomes clear that the Middle Ages were far from a dark and stagnant era. While society faced plagues, wars, and political upheaval, inventive minds quietly pursued dreams that could have reshaped the world. In this chapter, we explore more of these remarkable creations, some practical, others fantastical, all revealing the boundless curiosity of medieval thinkers. One of the most intriguing inventions was the mechanical knight, or humanoid automaton. These devices were designed to move, bow, or even wield weapons, powered by gears, weights, and springs. They were intended to entertain nobles or demonstrate mechanical skill. Some reports suggest these mechanical figures could perform multiple movements in sequence, resembling early robotic behavior. Though none survived intact, their existence reveals that the medieval imagination was not confined to simple machines. It envisioned autonomous, interactive devices centuries ahead of their time. Another area of forgotten ingenuity was water and wind-powered machinery. While mills were common, inventors experimented with advanced systems to drive hammers, saw wood, or pump water continuously. Some designs combined wind and water energy, optimizing natural forces for labor-intensive tasks. These innovations were highly localized, and knowledge of their construction rarely spread, limiting their impact. Yet they foreshadow renewable energy applications that would only be fully realized in the modern era. In medicine, inventors were exploring mechanical prosthetics and surgical aids. Early prosthetic limbs incorporated articulated joints, allowing users to grasp objects or walk more naturally. Some surgical devices included clamps, saws, and pumps, designed to improve procedures for both civilians and soldiers. These tools highlight a medieval understanding of human anatomy and mechanical design, suggesting that practical innovation often preceded scientific formalization by centuries. Maritime technology also witnessed imaginative experiments. Beyond the compass and rudder, sketches reveal concepts for self-steering ships and mechanically adjustable sails. Some designs proposed gears and levers that could maintain a ship S-course or adjust sail angles automatically. Others envisioned paddle-driven vessels powered by mechanical means, reducing reliance on manual labor. Had these innovations been realized, they might have accelerated trade and exploration long before the age of discovery. Education benefited from mechanical creativity as well. Automata designed to teach mathematical, astronomical, or geometric principles were constructed in some monasteries and courts. Rotating spheres demonstrated planetary motion, gears illustrated ratios, and pendulums conveyed oscillation principles. These devices allowed students to engage with abstract concepts tangibly, centuries before interactive learning became common. Optical inventions were equally impressive. Beyond spectacles, medieval inventors experimented with magnifying lenses and rudimentary telescopes. Some devices were used to observe distant stars, track celestial events, or examine small objects closely. Others employed focused sunlight to ignite fires or conduct experiments, demonstrating an early understanding of the properties of light. These optical innovations, though rare and localized, hint at a scientific curiosity that foreshadowed modern methods. In domestic and cultural life, inventors pursued mechanical musical instruments and automated performance devices. From self-playing organs to mechanical birds and drums, these machines combined artistry, craftsmanship, and mechanical knowledge. Installed in cathedrals, courts, or wealthy homes, they produced music without human performers, reflecting both technological skill, and an appreciation for cultural enrichment. Unfortunately, few survived intact, leaving behind only descriptions or fragmented parts. Engineering also extended to mechanical bridges and lifting devices. Medieval sketches show plans for rotating bridges, cranes powered by gears or water wheels, and lifts capable of moving heavy loads with minimal labor. Some designs incorporated safety mechanisms and counterweights, reflecting an understanding of physics and mechanics. These constructions, if widely adopted, might have accelerated urbanization and infrastructure development centuries earlier. Energy efficiency was another area of experimentation. Tidal, wind, and river driven machinery were envisioned to perform tasks from irrigation to milling, while many ideas remained theoretical or localized. They demonstrate a medieval understanding of harnessing natural forces to reduce human effort. Had these systems been implemented broadly, medieval economies might have been more productive, and technological advancement could have occurred at a faster pace. Finally, the medieval fascination with automated labor extended to agriculture. Inventors sketched machines for threshing grain, pumping water to fields, or even harvesting crops. Though crude and often impractical, these devices foreshadowed later agricultural machinery. They reveal a persistent medieval ambition to reduce manual toil, increase productivity, and create systems that leveraged natural forces. As we reflect on these lost inventions, one theme becomes unmistakable. Medieval thinkers were not merely copying ancient knowledge, they were innovators, dreamers, and experimenters. Their creations, whether realized or imagined, laid the conceptual groundwork for much of modern science, engineering, and technology. And though centuries of turmoil, neglect, and material scarcity caused many of these innovations to vanish, their legacy persists in the whispers of manuscripts and sketches that survived. Before we move forward to the next chapter, it's worth noting the value of curiosity. These inventions remind us that even in an era often considered backward, human creativity can flourish against all odds. And if you've been enjoying this journey through lost medieval inventions, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories of hidden genius throughout history. As we journey deeper into the medieval world, one truth becomes increasingly clear. It was an age of imagination as much as survival. Beneath the familiar scenes of peasants, knights, and castles, a quiet revolution of innovation was taking place. Inventors, scholars, and artisans were constantly testing the limits of materials, mechanics, and human ingenuity. Many of their creations were lost, yet the surviving accounts reveal a period far more inventive than history often acknowledges. One area of remarkable experimentation was mechanical clocks with astronomical functions. Beyond simply telling time, some medieval clocks incorporated dials for the moon, stars, and tides. They used weights, gears, and water flow to drive complex movements, and some even included automata that rang bells or gestured at specific hours. These devices were both practical and symbolic, demonstrating mastery over time and celestial phenomena. Yet the knowledge required to build them was fragile, often confined to a few skilled artisans, and many designs were lost to fire or decay. Another fascinating invention was the mechanical bellows for forges and furnaces. Blacksmiths needed consistent airflow to maintain high temperatures, and some inventors created water or wind-powered bellows to reduce manual labor. These devices allowed metalworkers to forge stronger tools, armor, and machinery more efficiently. Although the principle was understood, widespread adoption was limited, and many advanced designs vanished with the loss of skilled craftsmen or workshops. Medieval warfare also inspired mechanical ingenuity. Inventors envisioned self-operating siege machines, some capable of hurling projectiles automatically or rotating to aim at targets. Designs included counterweights, gears, and complex pulleys to reduce human labor. While only a few were ever constructed, they reveal the medieval desire to automate even the most dangerous and physically demanding aspects of warfare. In domestic life, inventive minds explored automated kitchens and cooking devices, rotating spits, pulley-driven cauldrons, and water-powered ovens allowed for even cooking and reduced effort. Some wealthy households reportedly had elaborate contraptions to manage multiple cooking tasks simultaneously, demonstrating an understanding of both mechanical principles and household efficiency. Such devices were rare and fragile, but they reflect a sophisticated approach to daily life that is often overlooked in medieval studies. Maritime innovation was equally ambitious. Beyond rudders and compasses, some inventors experimented with mechanical sail adjustments and paddle-driven ships. Designs included gears and levers that could alter sail angles automatically, or paddle mechanisms powered by water or human operation. While these ideas were rarely implemented, they demonstrate an early desire to mechanize navigation and reduce the physical strain on sailors. Had these inventions been widely adopted, oceanic trade and exploration might have advanced centuries earlier. Medicine and prosthetics reveal yet another facet of medieval ingenuity. Inventors created mechanical braces, prosthetic limbs, and surgical instruments designed to restore mobility and function. Articulated wooden hands, adjustable leg braces, and early surgical clamps illustrate a deep understanding of anatomy and mechanical principles. Many of these devices were lost due to war, fire, or neglect, yet they foreshadow modern medical engineering by centuries. The field of optics also saw remarkable experimentation. Beyond simple spectacles, scholars explored magnifying lenses, rudimentary telescopes, and light-focusing devices. Some were used for studying stars or distant landscapes, while others concentrated sunlight for experimental purposes. These inventions demonstrate a systematic approach to observation and experimentation, a foundation upon which modern science would later build. Cultural and artistic innovation thrived alongside practical invention. Mechanical musical instruments, including automated organs, bird-like automata, and early music boxes, entertained nobles and worshippers alike. These devices combined craftsmanship, mechanical engineering, and artistry, producing melodies without human performers. Though few survived intact, their descriptions reveal a deep appreciation for the integration of art and mechanics. Education benefited from mechanical ingenuity as well. Automated teaching tools illustrated principles of geometry, astronomy, and mechanics. Rotating spheres demonstrated celestial motion, pendulums showed oscillation, and gears illustrated ratios. These tools allowed scholars to learn through observation and interaction. Centuries before hands-on teaching became widespread. Finally, energy and power experiments reveal the breadth of medieval curiosity. Inventors designed tidal mills, wind-assisted pumps, and river-driven machinery to harness natural forces for labor. Although these devices were rarely implemented on a large scale, they anticipated modern concepts of renewable energy and mechanization. Had these innovations been fully realized, medieval economies could have been more productive and technological progress accelerated. The lost medieval inventions of this era remind us that history is rarely linear. Knowledge appears, disappears, and reemerges, often delayed by circumstance rather than impossibility. Every abandoned manuscript, ruined workshop, or forgotten machine represents potential unrealized, a glimpse of the world that might have been. In reflecting on these inventions, we also honor the inventors themselves, monks, scholars, craftsmen, and engineers, whose ingenuity flickered briefly before fading into obscurity. Their legacy survives in the faint traces left behind, whispers of brilliance that inspire modern innovation and imagination. The Middle Ages, often dismissed as a time of darkness and stagnation, were in fact a period of remarkable creativity. Beneath the daily struggles of life, plagues, wars, and rigid social hierarchies, inventors and thinkers were quietly shaping possibilities that history would largely forget. In this chapter, we uncover more of these lost medieval inventions, marvels that hint at a world where innovation flourished centuries before its time. One of the most fascinating areas of experimentation was automated agricultural devices. Inventors designed water or wind-powered machines to assist with plowing, threshing, and irrigation. Some sketches depict chain-driven threshers that separated grain from chaff automatically, reducing the labor burden on peasants. Others describe water-lifting devices to irrigate fields, enhancing crop yields, though implementation was limited and knowledge rarely spread. These devices foreshadowed modern agricultural machinery by centuries. In domestic life, mechanical ingenuity was applied to kitchen and household automation. Rotating spits, pulley-operated ovens, and water-driven stirring mechanisms reduced human labor in wealthy households. Some designs even included timer mechanisms, allowing food to be cooked with minimal oversight. These inventions demonstrate a medieval understanding of mechanics, time, and labor efficiency rarely acknowledged in historical narratives. Maritime innovation continued to push boundaries. Beyond rudders and compasses, some inventors proposed mechanical adjustments for sails and rudders, reducing the need for manual operation. Others experimented with paddle-driven ships, powered by gears or water mechanisms. These designs were rarely implemented, but they illustrate the medieval desire to harness mechanics for navigation, improving efficiency and safety on the water. Warfare inspired extraordinary mechanical experiments. Engineers conceived self-operating siege engines, rotating towers, and early forms of automated projectile launchers. Designs incorporated gears, counterweights, and pulleys to increase efficiency and reduce human effort. While few were realized, these inventions reveal an understanding of mechanical principles that would not be seen again until much later. Medicine and human care were also fields of innovation. Inventors created prosthetic limbs, braces, and surgical instruments that incorporated articulated joints and mechanical principles. Early prosthetic hands allowed grasping, while leg braces assisted mobility. Surgical devices, including clamps, saws, and pumps, were designed to improve precision and patient outcomes. Many of these tools were lost due to wars, fires, or neglect, but they foreshadow modern medical engineering by centuries. Optics was another area of remarkable creativity. Scholars experimented with magnifying lenses, telescopic devices, and focused sunlight experiments. Lenses were used to observe distant objects, study celestial events, or examine tiny specimens. These experiments reflect a systematic approach to understanding the natural world, anticipating scientific methods that would not be formalized for centuries. Cultural life also inspired mechanical ingenuity. Automated musical instruments, including organs, mechanical birds, and early music boxes, combined craftsmanship and engineering to produce melodies without human performers. Installed in cathedrals, courts, and wealthy homes, they reflected an integration of art and technology that remains impressive even today. Education benefited from mechanical creativity as well. Inventors built interactive teaching devices using gears, pendulums, and rotating spheres to demonstrate principles of geometry, astronomy, and mechanics. Students could observe planetary motion, ratios, and oscillations firsthand, centuries before hands-on learning became widespread. Energy generation was another area of experimentation. Tidal mills, water and wind-powered machines, and river-driven mechanisms were designed to perform labor-intensive tasks while limited in scale and scope. These devices show a medieval understanding of harnessing natural forces efficiently. Had these ideas been implemented broadly, societies could have progressed technologically far earlier than they did. Finally, some inventors imagined automated labor devices and early robotics. Designs include humanoid automata, self-moving carts, and mechanical assistants capable of performing repetitive tasks. While few were ever realized, they illustrate the medieval desire to mechanize labor, reduce effort, and explore the boundaries of what machines could accomplish. As we reflect on these lost inventions, a pattern emerges. Medieval inventors were driven by curiosity, necessity, and ambition. Their ideas were fragile, constrained by materials, labor, and societal acceptance, yet they anticipated much of what modern science and engineering would later achieve. And before we continue to the next chapter of this story, a quick reminder: if you're enjoying this journey into lost medieval inventions, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more incredible stories from history's hidden corners. The lost inventions of the Middle Ages remind us that creativity is timeless. Even in an era often portrayed as dark, human ingenuity found ways to flourish. From war machines to prosthetics, water lifting devices to musical automata, these creations represent glimpses of what might have been, a world accelerated by imagination, skill, and determination. As we progress through the story of lost medieval inventions, it becomes increasingly clear that the Middle Ages were a period of astonishing creativity. Despite the hardships of the era, plagues, wars, and limited resources, scholars, engineers, and artisans constantly pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Their inventions ranged from practical devices to ambitious automata, from medical innovations to artistic marvels. Many were lost to time, yet their ideas continue to inspire. One of the most remarkable areas of medieval experimentation was automated clocks and timekeeping devices. Beyond merely telling hours, some clocks incorporated astronomical dials, automata, and intricate gearing systems. Certain designs even included moving figures, chiming bells, and sequences that demonstrated celestial motions. These clocks were both functional and symbolic, representing mastery over time and the heavens. Although many of these devices were destroyed or fell into disrepair, they demonstrate a medieval understanding of mechanics far ahead of its era. In the realm of warfare, engineers pursued innovations far beyond traditional siege engines. Rotating towers, automated catapults, and self-operating projectile launchers were conceptualized to increase efficiency and reduce human risk. Some designs incorporated counterweights, gears, and pulleys to automate movement and aiming. While the complexity of these machines often prevented their full realization, they reveal a medieval desire to mechanize war and explore engineering solutions centuries before industrial machinery existed. Domestic and culinary life also inspired inventive minds. Mechanical kitchen devices, such as rotating spits, pulley-operated ovens, and water-driven stirring systems, were developed to reduce labor and ensure even cooking. Some designs included timers or mechanisms to alert cooks when a dish was ready. Though fragile and often restricted to the wealthy, these devices reflect a medieval understanding of labor efficiency and mechanical principles applied to everyday life. Maritime innovation was another field of lost ingenuity. Beyond the compass and rudder, some inventors proposed mechanical sail adjustment and rudder control systems, allowing ships to navigate more efficiently with reduced manpower. Other sketches depict paddle-driven mechanisms or water-powered devices to aid propulsion. These ideas, if implemented, could have accelerated exploration and trade, giving medieval societies an earlier mastery over sea travel. Medicine was a surprisingly advanced area of medieval experimentation. Inventors developed prosthetics, braces, and surgical tools designed to restore mobility and improve surgical precision. Early prosthetic hands allowed grasping, while mechanical leg braces aided walking. Surgical instruments included clamps, saws, and pumps to manage fluids or assist procedures. Many of these designs were lost over time, yet they foreshadow modern medical engineering and demonstrate a profound understanding of anatomy and mechanics. Optics was another area of experimentation and discovery. Beyond simple spectacles, medieval inventors explored lenses for magnification, rudimentary telescopes, and devices to focus sunlight. Some were used to study distant objects, celestial movements, or microscopic details. These devices reveal a systematic approach to observation, laying the groundwork for the scientific revolution centuries later. Artistic and cultural innovation thrived alongside practical invention. Automated musical instruments, including organs, mechanical birds, and early music boxes, were created to entertain courts, cathedrals, and wealthy households. These devices combined mechanical knowledge, craftsmanship, and artistic sensibility, producing melodies without human performers. While few survived intact, their descriptions show the medieval integration of art and technology. Education, too, benefited from mechanical ingenuity. Inventors built interactive teaching tools using gears, pendulums, and rotating spheres to demonstrate geometry, astronomy, and mechanics. These devices allowed students to engage with abstract concepts physically. Centuries before hands-on education became common, such instruments highlight the medieval recognition that learning could be enhanced through interaction and experimentation. Energy and power generation were also areas of experimentation. Inventors conceptualized tidal mills, water and wind powered machines, and river driven mechanisms to perform labor intensive tasks. Although implementation was limited, these ideas demonstrate a medieval understanding of efficiency and sustainability. The potential for societal advancement was enormous, yet many designs remained theoretical or were localized to specific regions. Finally, some inventors imagined automated labor and early robotics. Designs included humanoid automata, self moving carts, and mechanical assistants capable of performing repetitive or complex tasks. Though few were realized, they illustrate the medieval ambition to mechanize work and explore the limits of machines. These lost inventions remind us that creativity is not constrained by time. Even in an era often labeled backward, imagination flourished. The lost medieval inventions reveal a recurring theme. Human ingenuity can thrive even under the most challenging circumstances. Ideas may be fragile, materials scarce, and implementation limited, but the spark of invention endures. These devices, from clocks to automata, from prosthetics to agricultural machinery, represent glimpses of a world accelerated by curiosity, skill, and daring. As we pause before the next chapter, remember the inventors behind these creations: monks, scholars, engineers, and artisans whose brilliance briefly illuminated the medieval world. And if you've been enjoying this journey into history's hidden ingenuity, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to continue uncovering lost inventions and forgotten marvels. The Middle Ages were a time of contradictions, harsh realities, alongside remarkable ingenuity. Beneath the surface of castles, fields, and monasteries, inventors, engineers, and scholars explored the limits of mechanics, medicine, and artistry. Many of their creations were lost or forgotten, yet they reveal a medieval world far more inventive than history often suggests. In this chapter, we uncover more of these extraordinary inventions and the minds behind them. One of the most captivating areas of medieval innovation was mechanical clocks with automata and astronomical functions. These clocks went beyond marking the hours. Some featured moving figures that rang bells, while others displayed lunar phases, planetary positions, or celestial events. They were marvels of engineering, combining precision mechanics with artistry. Yet the knowledge required to construct such devices was fragile, confined to specialized workshops or monasteries, and many designs were lost to fire, decay, or war. Warfare inspired inventive minds to explore automated siege machines and mechanical defenses. Rotating towers, self-operating projectile launchers, and multi-level armored vehicles were conceptualized to protect soldiers while attacking fortifications. Some employed counterweights, gears, and pulleys to automate movement and targeting. Although few were constructed, these designs demonstrate a medieval understanding of mechanics, strategy, and ingenuity. In domestic life, inventors explored mechanical kitchens and labor-saving devices. Rotating spits, pulley-driven ovens, and water-powered stirring systems reduced the labor required for cooking and food preparation. Some devices included timers or alert mechanisms, reflecting a sophisticated understanding of both mechanics and household efficiency. Though mostly limited to wealthy households, these inventions show that innovation was not confined to warfare or scholarship. It extended into everyday life. Maritime technology also benefited from inventive minds. Mechanical sail adjustment systems, automated rudders, and paddle-driven ships were conceptualized to reduce manual labor on the long voyages. Some designs included gears and levers to maintain course or adjust sail angles automatically. Though rarely realized, these innovations could have accelerated trade, exploration, and naval mastery if widely adopted. Medicine and human welfare were another field of medieval creativity. Inventors designed prosthetic limbs, braces, and surgical instruments, incorporating mechanical principles. Articulated prosthetic hands allowed grasping, while leg braces aided mobility. Surgical tools, including clamps, saws, and pumps, improved precision and outcomes. While many of these inventions were lost, they anticipate modern medical engineering centuries before its formal development. Optical experimentation was also remarkable. Beyond spectacles, scholars explored magnifying lenses, rudimentary telescopes, and devices for focusing light. Some were used to observe distant objects, celestial bodies, or microscopic details. Others concentrated sunlight for experiments or practical tasks. These inventions reflect a systematic approach to understanding nature and laid foundations for modern scientific observation. Cultural life inspired mechanical creativity as well. Automated musical instruments, organs, mechanical birds, early music boxes combined craftsmanship, engineering, and artistry. Installed in cathedrals or noble courts, they produced melodies without human performers. Although few survived intact, their descriptions reveal the integration of technology and culture, demonstrating that medieval innovation was not limited to utilitarian purposes. Education, too, benefited from mechanical ingenuity. Inventors constructed interactive teaching devices using gears, pendulums, and rotating spheres to demonstrate principles of geometry, astronomy, and mechanics. Students could observe planetary motion, ratios, and oscillation firsthand, centuries before hands-on education became widespread. Such devices highlight a medieval appreciation for experiential learning and experimentation. Energy and power experiments were another hallmark of medieval creativity. Tidal mills, water and wind-powered machines, and river-driven mechanisms were designed to perform labor-intensive tasks efficiently. These devices foreshadow modern, renewable energy concepts and demonstrate an advanced understanding of natural forces. While large-scale implementation was rare, the conceptual groundwork shows that medieval engineers were thinking ahead of their time. Finally, medieval inventors imagined automated labor devices and early robotic assistants. Humanoid automata, self-moving carts, and mechanical helpers were sketched to perform repetitive or complex tasks. Few were built, yet these ideas reflect a desire to mechanize work, reduce human effort, and explore the possibilities of machines. The lost medieval inventions we have explored so far underscore a profound truth. Creativity and ingenuity flourish even in challenging circumstances. Ideas may be fragile and implementation limited, but the spark of human innovation endures. From clocks to automata, from prosthetics to energy machines. These creations were glimpses of a world accelerated by imagination and skill. Before moving on to the next chapter, remember the inventors behind these marvels. scholars, engineers, monks, and craftsmen, whose brilliance briefly illuminated the medieval world. And if you've been enjoying this journey, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories of hidden genius and lost inventions throughout history. The medieval world, often portrayed as a dark and stagnant era, was in fact alive with innovation, experimentation, and imagination. Beneath the stone walls of castles, the quiet of monasteries, and the bustle of marketplaces, inventors and scholars were creating devices and machines that, in many cases, would be lost for centuries. In this chapter, we continue to uncover some of the most remarkable lost medieval inventions and the minds behind them. One of the most extraordinary innovations was the mechanical clock with automata and celestial indicators. These clocks not only measured hours, but also displayed moon phases, planetary positions, and even the motions of the stars. Many featured moving figures that struck bells, gestured, or performed small sequences to mark the passing of time. Such clocks were marvels of engineering and artistry, yet most were lost due to fires, wars, or the fragile nature of their construction. They demonstrate that medieval inventors had an advanced understanding of mechanics far beyond what is often credited to the period. In the field of warfare, inventors conceptualized automated siege engines and mechanical defenses. Rotating towers, self-operating catapults, and projectile launching devices were designed to minimize human labor and maximize efficiency. Many incorporated gears, counterweights, and complex pulleys to automate movement and targeting. Though few were ever built, these designs highlight the medieval desire to mechanize warfare, foreshadowing modern military engineering centuries later. Domestic life also saw remarkable innovation. Inventors developed mechanical kitchens and labor-saving devices, such as rotating spits, pulley-operated ovens, and water-powered cauldrons. Some even included timers or alert mechanisms to signal when food was ready. These devices reflected a sophisticated understanding of mechanics and efficiency, and while they were typically limited to wealthy households, they reveal the breadth of medieval ingenuity beyond warfare and scholarship. Maritime technology was another area of ambitious invention. Beyond compasses and rudders, engineers proposed mechanical sail adjustment systems, automated rudders, and paddle-driven ships. Some designs incorporated gears and levers to maintain course or adjust sails automatically, reducing human labor. While rarely realized, these inventions could have significantly accelerated navigation, trade, and exploration centuries before the Age of Discovery. Medicine benefited from mechanical experimentation as well. Inventors created prosthetic limbs, braces, and surgical instruments that incorporated articulated joints, mechanical assistance, and improved precision. Prosthetic hands could grasp, leg braces aided walking, and surgical tools included clamps, saws, and fluid management devices. Many of these innovations were lost over time, yet they foreshadow modern medical engineering and demonstrate a profound understanding of anatomy and mechanics. Optics was another area of creativity. Scholars experimented with magnifying lenses, rudimentary telescopes, and light-focusing devices. Some were used to study distant objects, celestial phenomena, or microscopic details, while others concentrated sunlight for experiments. These innovations reveal a systematic approach to understanding nature, anticipating the scientific revolution centuries later. Cultural and artistic life also inspired mechanical ingenuity. Automated musical instruments, organs, mechanical birds, and early music boxes were used in noble courts, cathedrals, and wealthy households. These devices combined craftsmanship, engineering, and artistry, producing melodies without human performers. While few survived intact, descriptions and sketches show the medieval integration of art and technology. Education, too, benefited from mechanical inventions. Interactive teaching devices using gears, pendulums, and rotating spheres illustrated principles of geometry, astronomy, and mechanics. Students could observe planetary motion, ratios, and oscillation firsthand, centuries before hands-on education became common. These devices demonstrate the medieval recognition that active interaction enhances learning. Energy and power generation were also a focus of experimentation. Tidal mills, wind and water-powered machinery, and river-driven devices were conceptualized to reduce human labor and harness natural forces efficiently. Although large-scale implementation was rare, these ideas foreshadowed modern renewable energy solutions and show a medieval understanding of mechanics, efficiency, and sustainability. Finally, inventors imagined automated labor devices and early robotic assistants. Designs included humanoid automata, self-moving carts, and mechanical helpers capable of performing repetitive or complex tasks. Few were realized, yet these ideas demonstrate a medieval desire to mechanize work and explore the limits of machines. The lost medieval inventions of this chapter illustrate a recurring truth. Creativity knows no era. Even under challenging circumstances, human ingenuity finds ways to flourish. From clocks to automata, prosthetics to maritime innovations, these devices were glimpses of a world accelerated by curiosity, skill, and daring. And before we move on to the next chapter, a reminder, if you've been enjoying this journey into lost medieval inventions, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories of hidden genius and forgotten marvels throughout history. The Middle Ages, often mischaracterized as a time of stagnation, were in reality alive with invention and imagination. Beneath the surface of everyday life, fields, castles, monasteries, and markets, inventors, engineers, and artisans quietly pushed the boundaries of mechanics, medicine, and art. Many of their creations were lost to history, but the surviving sketches, manuscripts, and accounts reveal a medieval world brimming with creativity. One of the most fascinating areas of medieval ingenuity was mechanical clocks and astronomical devices. Beyond simply telling hours, these clocks incorporated moving figures, lunar phases, and planetary positions. Some even included automata that struck bells or performed sequences to mark time. These clocks were marvels of precision engineering and artistic design, yet many were lost due to fire, decay, or the fragility of their construction. They highlight the medieval mastery of mechanics, centuries ahead of their time. In the field of warfare, inventors explored automated siege engines and defensive mechanisms. Rotating towers, self-operating catapults, and projectile launchers were designed to increase efficiency and reduce human effort. Many incorporated gears, counterweights, and complex pulley systems to automate aiming and movement. Although few were ever built, these designs reveal the medieval desire to mechanize warfare, foreshadowing industrial age engineering. Domestic life also benefited from mechanical creativity. Inventors developed automated kitchen and household devices, including rotating spits, pulley-operated ovens, and water-driven cauldrons. Some devices featured timers or alert systems to indicate when food was ready. These innovations, though rare and often restricted to the wealthy, demonstrate that medieval ingenuity extended beyond combat and scholarship into everyday life. Maritime technology was another frontier of medieval experimentation. Engineers proposed mechanical sail adjustment systems, automated rudders, and paddle-driven ships to reduce manual labor and improve navigation. Gears and levers were used to maintain course or adjust sails automatically. While these devices were rarely constructed, they demonstrate a medieval interest in mechanizing labor and improving maritime efficiency, advances that could have accelerated exploration and trade. Medicine was surprisingly advanced for its time. Inventors designed prosthetic limbs, braces, and surgical tools that incorporated mechanical assistance and articulated joints. Prosthetic hands allowed grasping, leg braces improved mobility, and surgical devices like clamps and pumps enhanced precision. Many of these tools were lost over time, yet they anticipate modern medical engineering and demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of anatomy and mechanics. Optics was another area of creative experimentation. Beyond spectacles, medieval scholars developed magnifying lenses, telescopic devices, and sunlight focusing instruments. These were used to study distant objects, celestial phenomena, or microscopic details. Some concentrated sunlight for experiments or practical purposes, revealing a systematic approach to observation and experimentation that prefigured modern science. Cultural innovation also drove mechanical invention. Automated musical instruments, including organs, mechanical birds, and early music boxes, entertained noble courts, cathedrals, and wealthy households. These devices combined craftsmanship, engineering, and artistry, producing melodies without human performers. Although few survived intact, the descriptions and sketches indicate the medieval fusion of technology and cultural expression. Education benefited from mechanical ingenuity as well. Interactive teaching tools, using gears, pendulums, and rotating spheres, demonstrated principles of geometry, astronomy, and mechanics. Students could observe ratios, oscillations, and planetary motion firsthand. Centuries before, hands-on learning became standard practice. These devices reflect a medieval understanding that interactive learning enhances comprehension and retention. Energy and power generation experiments reveal the medieval mind's foresight. Tidal mills, river-driven machines, and wind-assisted mechanisms were designed to harness natural forces for labor-intensive tasks. While large-scale implementation was limited, these devices foreshadowed modern, renewable energy concepts and show a remarkable understanding of mechanical efficiency and sustainability. Finally, inventors explored automated labor and early robotics. Humanoid automata, self-moving carts, and mechanical assistants were imagined to perform repetitive or complex tasks. While few were realized, these ideas highlight the medieval desire to mechanize labor, save effort, and expand the possibilities of machinery. The lost inventions of the medieval era demonstrate a recurring truth. Human creativity flourishes even under challenging circumstances. These devices, from clocks to automata, prosthetics to maritime innovations, represent glimpses of a world accelerated by curiosity, skill, and bold experimentation. Before moving on to the next chapter, remember the inventors behind these creations: monks, scholars, craftsmen, and engineers, whose brilliance briefly illuminated the medieval world. And if you're enjoying this exploration of lost inventions, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to uncover more forgotten marvels from history. The medieval period, often labeled as a dark and stagnant era, was in fact a time of extraordinary creativity and ingenuity. Beneath the surface of everyday life, fields, castles, workshops, and monasteries, inventors and scholars quietly pushed the boundaries of mechanics, medicine, and artistry. Many of their inventions were lost, yet surviving sketches, manuscripts, and descriptions reveal a world rich with innovation. One of the most remarkable areas of medieval experimentation was mechanical clocks and astronomical devices. These clocks did more than tell time. They displayed the motions of the stars, moon phases, and planetary positions. Many included automata that struck bells, gestured, or performed small sequences to mark time. These devices were marvels of precision and craftsmanship. While many were lost due to fire, decay, or neglect, they demonstrate that medieval engineers had a sophisticated understanding of gears, weights, and timing centuries ahead of their era. In warfare, medieval engineers pushed the boundaries of mechanical innovation. Automated siege engines, rotating towers, and mechanical projectile launchers were designed to increase efficiency and reduce human labor. Many incorporated gears, pulleys, and counterweights to automate movement and aiming. Though few were realized, these inventions reveal a medieval desire to mechanize warfare, foreshadowing industrial and modern engineering principles. Domestic life also inspired mechanical invention. Automated kitchens and household devices, such as rotating spits, water-driven cauldrons, and pulley-operated ovens, reduced labor and ensured consistency in cooking. Some included alert systems or timers, demonstrating an understanding of precision and workflow. Although typically limited to wealthy households, these devices reflect the reach of medieval creativity beyond military and scholarly pursuits. Maritime technology was another field of experimentation. Engineers proposed mechanical sail adjustment systems, automated rudders, and paddle-driven ships. Gears and levers allowed ships to maintain course or adjust sails automatically, reducing reliance on manual labor. While few were constructed, these inventions could have revolutionized navigation, trade, and exploration, giving medieval societies advanced maritime capabilities far earlier than history records. Medicine and human welfare were advanced through prosthetic limbs, braces, and surgical tools. Articulated prosthetic hands allowed grasping, leg braces, aided walking, and surgical instruments like clamps, saws, and pumps improved precision. Many of these inventions were lost over time, yet they anticipate modern medical engineering and demonstrate a medieval understanding of anatomy, mechanics, and human needs. Optical experimentation also flourished. Scholars explored magnifying lenses, rudimentary telescopes, and light-focusing devices. These were used to study distant objects, celestial bodies, or small details, and some concentrated sunlight for experimental or practical applications. Such innovations reveal systematic observation and experimentation, laying the groundwork for scientific methodology Long before the formal scientific revolution, artistic and cultural life encouraged mechanical creativity as well. Automated musical instruments, including organs, mechanical birds, and early music boxes, entertained noble courts, cathedrals, and wealthy households. These devices combined craftsmanship, engineering, and artistry, producing melodies without human performers. Although few survive intact, their descriptions show the integration of art and technology in medieval society. Education benefited from mechanical ingenuity. Interactive teaching devices, employing gears, pendulums, and rotating spheres, demonstrated principles of geometry, astronomy, and mechanics. Students could observe ratios, oscillations, and planetary motion firsthand, centuries before hands-on learning became standard practice. These devices illustrate the medieval recognition that tangible interaction enhances learning. Energy and power generation were another frontier. Tidal mills, river-driven machines, and wind-assisted mechanisms were designed to harness natural forces for labor-intensive tasks. Large-scale implementation was limited, yet these devices foreshadow modern renewable energy technology and reflect an advanced understanding of mechanical efficiency. Finally, inventors imagined automated labor and early robotics, humanoid automata, self-moving carts, and mechanical assistants were sketched to perform repetitive or complex tasks. Few were built, yet they demonstrate a medieval ambition to mechanize labor, reduce effort, and explore the boundaries of machinery. The inventions of the medieval era show a consistent theme. Human ingenuity flourishes even in challenging circumstances. These devices, from clocks to automata, prosthetics to maritime innovations, were glimpses of a world accelerated by curiosity, skill, and daring experimentation. Before moving on, remember the inventors, monks, scholars, engineers, and craftsmen, whose brilliance briefly illuminated the medieval world. And if you're enjoying this journey into lost inventions, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to discover more hidden marvels of history. The Middle Ages, often misrepresented as a period of stagnation, were in reality a time of remarkable creativity and experimentation. Hidden behind the daily struggles of life, plagues, wars, and rigid social hierarchies, were inventors, engineers, and scholars, quietly shaping ideas that could have transformed the world. Many of these inventions were lost, yet surviving manuscripts, sketches, and accounts provide glimpses into a medieval society alive with imagination. One area of extraordinary medieval ingenuity was mechanical clocks and astronomical devices. Beyond telling time, these clocks displayed lunar phases, planetary positions, and celestial movements. Some included automata that struck bells, waved, or performed sequences to mark hours. They were marvels of precision and artistic design, yet most were lost due to fire, decay, or neglect. These clocks reveal a medieval mastery of mechanics, weights, and gears centuries ahead of their era. In warfare, inventors pursued automated siege machines, rotating towers, and mechanical projectile launchers. Designs often incorporated gears, pulleys, and counterweights to automate aiming and movement, reducing human labor and risk. Though few were ever built, these devices demonstrate a medieval understanding of mechanical principles and innovation that foreshadowed industrial engineering centuries later. Domestic life also inspired mechanical invention. Automated kitchens and household devices, such as rotating spits, water-driven cauldrons, and pulley-operated ovens were designed to save labor and ensure consistent cooking. Some devices included alert systems or timers, reflecting an advanced comprehension of workflow and precision. While rare and typically limited to wealthy households, these innovations illustrate that medieval creativity extended beyond warfare and scholarship into everyday life. Maritime experimentation pushed the boundaries of navigation. Engineers proposed mechanical sail adjustment systems, automated rudders, and paddle-driven ships. Gears and levers allowed ships to maintain course or adjust sails automatically, reducing the physical strain on sailors. Though few were implemented, these inventions could have significantly advanced trade, exploration, and naval mastery. Centuries before historical records show such technologies. Medicine and human care saw remarkable mechanical innovation. Prosthetic limbs, braces, and surgical instruments incorporated articulated joints and mechanical assistance. Prosthetic hands allowed grasping, leg braces improved mobility, and surgical tools, including clamps, saws, and pumps, enhanced precision. While many of these devices were lost, they foreshadowed modern medical engineering and reflect a deep understanding of anatomy and mechanics. Optical devices also advanced medieval experimentation. Beyond simple spectacles, scholars developed magnifying lenses, rudimentary telescopes, and light-focusing instruments. These were used to study distant landscapes, celestial bodies, or tiny specimens, and some concentrated sunlight for experimental purposes. Such innovations reveal a systematic approach to observation and laid the conceptual foundation for scientific methods centuries later. Cultural and artistic life encouraged mechanical ingenuity. Automated musical instruments, including organs, mechanical birds, and early music boxes, entertained noble courts, cathedrals, and wealthy households. These devices combined engineering, craftsmanship, and artistry, producing melodies without human performers. While few survived intact, their descriptions and sketches show the integration of technology and culture in medieval society. Education benefited from mechanical invention as well. Interactive teaching devices using gears, pendulums, and rotating spheres illustrated principles of geometry, astronomy, and mechanics. Students could observe ratios, oscillations, and planetary motion firsthand, centuries before hands-on learning became standard. These devices highlight a medieval appreciation for experiential and interactive learning. Energy generation and efficiency were areas of innovation. Tidal mills, river-driven machinery, and wind-assisted devices harnessed natural forces to perform labor-intensive tasks. While large-scale adoption was limited, these inventions foreshadow modern renewable energy solutions and reveal a medieval understanding of mechanics and sustainability. Finally, inventors imagined automated labor devices and early robotic assistants. Humanoid automata, self-moving carts, and mechanical helpers were sketched to perform repetitive or complex tasks. Few were realized, yet they demonstrate a medieval ambition to mechanize work, reduce labor, and explore the possibilities of machines. The lost inventions of the medieval period emphasize a powerful truth. Human creativity persists, even under the most challenging circumstances. Devices from clocks to automata, prosthetics to maritime innovations, reveal glimpses of a world accelerated by curiosity, skill, and experimentation. Before moving forward to the next chapter, remember the inventors, monks, scholars, engineers, and craftsmen whose brilliance briefly illuminated the medieval world. And if you've been enjoying this exploration, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more hidden marvels of history. The medieval world, often portrayed as dark and stagnant, was in fact a period of remarkable creativity and experimentation. Beneath the stone walls of castles, monasteries, and workshops, inventors and scholars explored the limits of mechanics, medicine, and artistry. While many of their inventions were lost, surviving manuscripts, sketches, and descriptions reveal a society alive with imagination and ingenuity. One of the most striking areas of medieval innovation was mechanical clocks and astronomical instruments. These clocks did more than mark hours. They displayed planetary positions, lunar phases, and celestial movements. Some featured automata that struck bells or performed sequences to indicate time. These devices were marvels of engineering and artistry, yet many were lost to fire, decay, or neglect. They demonstrate a medieval mastery of gears, weights, and timing, centuries ahead of their era. In warfare, inventors conceptualized automated siege engines, rotating towers, and mechanical projectile launchers. These machines often incorporated gears, counterweights, and pulley systems to automate movement and aiming, reducing human labor and risk. While few were realized, these designs reveal a medieval understanding of mechanics and strategic ingenuity that foreshadowed later industrial and military engineering. Domestic life inspired mechanical invention as well. Automated kitchens and household devices, such as rotating spits, water-powered cauldrons, and pulley-operated ovens, reduced labor and ensured consistent cooking. Some devices included timers or alert systems to signal readiness. While typically limited to wealthy households, these devices show that medieval creativity extended beyond warfare and scholarship, improving everyday life. Maritime experimentation pushed innovation further. Engineers proposed mechanical sail adjustments, automated rudders, and paddle-driven ships. Gears and levers allowed ships to maintain course or adjust sails automatically, reducing human effort. Though rarely built, these inventions could have significantly advanced navigation, trade, and exploration centuries earlier than historical records suggest. Medicine benefited from mechanical ingenuity. Inventors created prosthetic limbs, braces, and surgical tools with articulated joints and mechanical assistance. Prosthetic hands allowed grasping, leg braces aided walking, and surgical instruments such as clamps and pumps improved precision. While many of these designs were lost, they foreshadowed modern medical engineering and illustrate a sophisticated understanding of anatomy and mechanics. Optics was another area of creative experimentation. Beyond simple spectacles, scholars developed magnifying lenses, rudimentary telescopes, and sunlight focusing devices. These were used to study distant objects, celestial phenomena, or microscopic details. Some concentrated sunlight for experiments or practical uses, reflecting a systematic approach to observation that predated modern science. Cultural life fostered mechanical innovation as well. Automated musical instruments, including organs, mechanical birds, and early music boxes, were used to entertain noble courts, cathedrals, and wealthy households. These devices combined craftsmanship, engineering, and artistry, producing melodies without human performers. Though few survived, descriptions and sketches reveal the integration of technology and culture, education benefited from mechanical ingenuity, interactive teaching devices, employing gears, pendulums, and rotating spheres, illustrated geometry, astronomy, and mechanical principles. Students could observe ratios, oscillations, and planetary motion firsthand, centuries before hands-on learning became widespread. These inventions demonstrate a medieval understanding that interaction enhances comprehension. Energy generation and efficiency were also explored. Tidal mills, river-driven machines, and wind-assisted devices harnessed natural forces to perform labor-intensive tasks. While large-scale adoption was rare, these devices foreshadowed modern renewable energy technologies and reflect advanced medieval understanding of mechanics and sustainability. Finally, inventors imagined automated labor and early robotics, humanoid automata, self-moving carts, and mechanical assistants were sketched to perform repetitive or complex tasks. Few were realized, yet they reveal a medieval ambition to mechanize labor, save effort, and explore the possibilities of machines. The lost inventions of the medieval era reveal an enduring truth. Creativity persists even under the most challenging circumstances. Devices from clocks to automata, prosthetics to maritime innovations provide glimpses of a world accelerated by curiosity, skill, and experimentation. Before we conclude, remember the inventors, monks, scholars, engineers, and craftsmen whose brilliance briefly illuminated the medieval world. And if you've enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more hidden marvels of history. As we reach the final chapter of our exploration into lost medieval inventions, it becomes clear that the Middle Ages were far more inventive than history often portrays. Beneath the surface of castles, monasteries, workshops, and markets, inventors and scholars were constantly testing the limits of mechanics, medicine, and artistry. While many of their creations were lost, surviving accounts reveal a world full of imagination, ambition, and daring innovation. Among the most remarkable achievements were mechanical clocks and astronomical devices. These clocks did more than tell time. They displayed planetary positions, lunar phases, and celestial motions. Some featured automata that struck bells or moved in intricate sequences to mark hours. These devices were not only precise engineering marvels, but also works of art. Although many were lost to decay, fire, or neglect, they demonstrate a medieval mastery of mechanics far beyond their era. In the realm of warfare, inventors conceived automated siege engines, rotating towers, and mechanical projectile launchers. These devices incorporated gears, counterweights, and pulleys to automate movement and aiming, reducing human labor and risk. While few were realized, the designs reflect a deep understanding of mechanical principles and strategic ingenuity, foreshadowing military innovations of centuries to come. Daily life also inspired creativity. Mechanical kitchens and household devices, such as rotating spits, water-driven cauldrons, and pulley-operated ovens, reduced labor and improved efficiency. Some included timers or signaling mechanisms to alert cooks when meals were ready. Though often limited to the wealthy, these inventions demonstrate that medieval ingenuity extended into domestic spheres, transforming ordinary life through clever engineering. Maritime exploration was another field of lost innovation. Engineers proposed mechanical sail adjustment systems, automated rudders, and paddle-driven ships. Gears and levers were designed to maintain course or adjust sails automatically, reducing reliance on manual labor. Though rarely implemented, these devices could have accelerated trade, navigation, and global exploration centuries ahead of their time. Medicine benefited from mechanical ingenuity as well. Prosthetic limbs, braces, and surgical tools incorporated articulated joints and mechanical assistance. Prosthetic hands enabled grasping, leg braces aided mobility, and surgical instruments like clamps, saws, and pumps improved precision. Many of these innovations were lost, yet they foreshadowed modern medical engineering and reflect a sophisticated understanding of anatomy and mechanics. Optics was another area of experimentation. Beyond spectacles, medieval inventors developed magnifying lenses, rudimentary telescopes, and sunlight focusing devices. These instruments were used to study distant objects, celestial phenomena, or microscopic details. Some concentrated sunlight for experiments, demonstrating a systematic approach to observation and experimentation long before the scientific revolution. Art and culture inspired mechanical invention too. Automated musical instruments, such as organs, mechanical birds, and early music boxes, entertained noble courts, cathedrals, and wealthy households. These devices combined craftsmanship, engineering, and artistry, producing melodies without human performers. While few survived intact, descriptions reveal the integration of technology, creativity, and culture in medieval life. Education benefited from mechanical ingenuity. Interactive teaching devices using gears, pendulums, and rotating spheres illustrated principles of geometry, astronomy, and mechanics. Students could observe ratios, oscillations, and planetary motion firsthand, centuries before hands-on education became widespread. These inventions show that medieval scholars understood the value of experiential learning. Energy and power experiments also highlight medieval creativity. Tidal mills, river-driven machines, and wind-assisted devices harnessed natural forces to perform labor-intensive tasks. Although large-scale adoption was limited, these machines foreshadowed modern renewable energy solutions and demonstrate an advanced understanding of efficiency and mechanics. Finally, inventors imagined automated labor devices and early robotics. Humanoid automata, self-moving carts, and mechanical assistants were conceptualized to perform repetitive or complex tasks. Few were ever built, yet they reflect the medieval ambition to mechanize work, reduce human effort, and explore the possibilities of machinery. The lost inventions of the medieval period reveal a profound truth. Human ingenuity persists even in challenging circumstances. From clocks to automata, prosthetics to maritime innovations, these devices provide glimpses of a world accelerated by curiosity, skill, and imagination. They remind us that history is rarely linear. Knowledge appears, disappears, and reemerges, shaping the course of human progress in subtle ways. As we close this exploration, we honor the inventors themselves, monks, scholars, artisans, and engineers, whose brilliance briefly illuminated the medieval world. Their creations may have been lost, but their ingenuity continues to inspire modern minds, reminding us that imagination and determination transcend time. If you've enjoyed this journey into the hidden marvels of history, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories about inventions, discoveries, and forgotten genius from the past. The medieval world may have been lost in many ways, but its ingenuity remains a timeless source of inspiration.